This is a sports catastrophe production. Hey there, how there, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter welcome you to another sports catastrophe birthday boy. And the birthday boy for today, August the 5th, is a man who's 59 years old. He is actually head coach of his alma mater in college basketball. He was born in Jamaica, came over to the U.S. at 13, and then would play for the Georgetown Hoyas and lead them to 3 college basketball finals in a 4-year span and only win once. But he would be known for his affiliation with the New York Knicks before ending his playing career with Seattle and Orlando. So Patrick Ewing is his name. 17 years in the NBA, 11-time All-Star, and 2-time NBA finalist. He even played for the 84 and 92 U.S. Olympic basketball teams. He's in the Hall of Fame in 2008. His number 33 was retired by the Knicks in 2003. So he looked good. He decided to sign a letter of intent to play for Georgetown and John Thompson. He seems to be that way. He almost went to North Carolina, but he witnessed a rally for the Ku Klux Klan and decided not to do it. Ewing was hoping, fans were hoping he'd play for Boston College or even Boston University, but he decided to go to Georgetown. He started on the varsity team as a freshman, which was rare at that time. He would help Georgetown win the Big East title and the 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. After defeating Louisville in the semifinals, the Hoyas would face North Carolina in the final. Unfortunately, Ewing was called for goaltending 5 times in the first half for swatting down shot. Basically, if a ball is in the cylinder by the hoop, you can't swat it away because it was going to go in, and that happened 5 times. It was actually intentional by John Thompson to try to set the tone for the Hoyas. Sadly, though, North Carolina would win thanks to Michael Jordan's shot and Freddie Brown's mistaken pass to James Worthy. Wrong team. So the Hoyas were the second best team in the country for most of '83. They had a game against number 1 ranked Virginia, which was the game of the decade, and Virginia's veteran team won. But Ewing did slam dunk over Ralph Sampson. Georgetown was shocked in the second round by Memphis. In his junior season, 3rd season, he would give Georgetown a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament, got to the Final Four, and took on Kentucky, which had Sam Bowie and Melvin Turpin in it. Kentucky had never lost in the semifinals. It was basically, you get to the semifinals, you're going to go to the finals. Georgetown shocked everyone by winning by 13 points. They would face Houston, led by Hakeem Olajuwon, another big center. Georgetown prevailed, giving Georgetown its first ever and only NCAA tournament title in history, and Patrick Ewing was named Most Outstanding Player. Ewing almost went to the NBA in the '84 draft and would have been part of the star-studded draft of '84. However, he made a promise to his mom that he would get his education. So he stayed in Georgetown for his senior year, and Georgetown basically was number 1 in the nation for a long time. They would have to deal with St. John's, their Big East rivals, in the semifinals. And Georgetown won by 18. They would have to face another Big East team, Villanova. In fact, it was strange to see 3 Big East teams in the Final Four. Villanova took care of Memphis, by the way. Georgetown was supposed to win, but Villanova used their 78% shooting from the floor to shock Patrick Ewing and Georgetown. Georgetown didn't have anything to worry about. Villanova had nothing to lose. Patrick Ewing was named the Player of the Year, though. It was a great college run. He would have a habit of wearing a short-sleeve t-shirt underneath his jersey because, well, it's a fashion trend, but basically because many of the Big East arenas actually were sharing with Hockey State, hockey teams, such as, St. John's sharing Madison Square Garden with the Rangers. So Ewing was expected to be the 85 top pick, obviously. We've had the Mikan era, the Russell era, the Cream era, now we'll have the Ewing era. That was amazing. The NBA draft used to have a coin flip to decide. Well, the Eastern and Western Conference teams, the worst teams would flip a coin. Whoever won the coin toss would go number 1, and number 2 would go second. However, this practice led teams to purposely lose games in order to improve their draft position and get into the coin toss. The NBA decided to change that tone in '85 and have a draft lottery. So the draft lottery was one of the most controversial moments in NBA history, obviously. If you watch the NBA draft lottery video on YouTube, you can understand why. So anyway, the 7 teams that didn't qualify for the NBA playoffs would be put in envelopes and spun in a drum 7 times. Whichever one that David Stern picked first will go into spot 1. The next one would be number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's down to, I believe, the Pacers and the Knicks at the end of it. And the Knicks got the number 1 pick. And basketball is back in New York, Pat O'Brien said. Because of how college basketball was king in New York, and Pro ball should be big in New York. But the Knicks have been going on hard times. So the Knicks got the number 1 pick. Of course, we all know that it was controversial. If you watch the video, you can see the guy, when he puts the envelopes in the thing, he puts the first 3 down gently, and then the 4th one, he just hits it against the side of the drum, and then he puts the other 3 down gently. So you can probably guess something was fishy. And then basically David Stern, when he reached into the drum, actually pulled more than 1 envelope, and basically he just felt around for a certain one. Yeah, the Knicks kind of got it. But I guess karma bit them in the butt as the Knicks never won the title. But Patrick Ewing was still named Rookie of the Year, despite him having injuries and all that. Ewing would help the Knicks do well. The Knicks in '93 looked like they were going to go to the NBA Finals, but the Bulls and Michael Jordan screwed them over. Now, the Knicks kind of got the benefit of Michael Jordan's quote-unquote retirement as they got to the NBA Finals. The Knicks almost botched it to Chicago in the conference semifinals. He would help the Knicks do well, and the Knicks were up 3-2 in the finals. Let's not forget that. And then the Knicks lost game 6-7 in Houston. Ewing would set the record for most blocked shots in the NBA Finals in a series, broken by Tim Duncan in 2003. The Knicks seem to be okay and all that. In 1997, Ewing, in a game against Milwaukee, was fouled while attempting a dunk, but he fell awkwardly and landed with all his weight on his shooting hand. It was a severely damaged wrist with a displaced fracture, a dislocation of the lunate and torn ligaments. They said that Ewing suffered injuries that were basically reserved for victims of vehicular accidents. Ewing would have to miss the rest of the season, but thankfully he did rehab the injury quite well. And in 1999, he led the Knicks to a Cinderella run to the NBA Finals, taking down the Miami Heat, Atlanta Hawks, and Indiana Pacers to get to the finals. But San Antonio, with the twin towers of Tim Duncan and David Robinson, would ruin his career. Ewing got the Knicks to the NBA semifinals, or the Eastern Conference Finals at that, in 2000. He would be the only Knick to play 1,000 games in their uniform. And then in 2000, when his injuries were getting too much, the Knicks decided to trade him to Seattle. It was basically a 3-team deal. The Knicks sent Patrick Ewing to Seattle, Chris Dudley to Phoenix, and received from Seattle and Phoenix combined Glenn Rice, Luke Longley, Travis Knight, Ferdinand Maxwell, and 2 stiffs and 2 first-round draft picks. He would play only 1 year for Seattle and 1 year for Orlando, and he decided to retire. He still looks pretty good and all that. Yeah. Ewing played over 1,000 games for the Knicks. He's got his number 33 retired in 2003 after his career ended. All that. So yeah, that's a pretty good career. I mean, I know that his career in the NBA career kind of started off controversially with that draft lottery bull crap, but he's good. And somehow, in some way, he led Georgetown, even though they were pretty bad. They were the 8th seed in the 2021 Big East tournament, and they won the tournament over Creighton, getting them to the tournament. They would lose in the first round, but who cares? And yes, Patrick Ewing was part of Space Jam. He was one of the players that the talent was stolen, with Barkley, Sean Bradley, Larry Johnson, and Muggsy Bogues. But yeah, Ewing was seen in Space Jam. That was amazing. Yeah, I love that. Patrick Ewing has 3 children from his 8-year marriage in the 90s. But Patrick Ewing Jr. actually played for Indiana and then went to Georgetown to transfer and wore the number 33. He was drafted by Sacramento in the 2nd round and was even traded to the Knicks. Basically, Patrick Ewing Jr. has been around in the NBA Development League and in Europe, so he just couldn't get his dad's legacy. Oh well. What can go wrong? A lot of things can go wrong. But Patrick Ewing still is an icon. And yeah, of course, his name's synonymous with a fix in the 1985 draft lottery. But, he didn't win the title, so karma bit him in the butt. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I don't